So today we'll be working backwards, just like we've always worked backwards with problems. I give you the graph and you have to work backwards and come up with the original function. Will these be on the test? Yeah. Yes, they will be. All right, so it gives you some methods, some steps here to go through. These will not be given to you on the test, so you need to remember these steps. Are we ready? What's method 1 or step 1? It needs to be an equation. Okay, y equals, that's pretty easy. We should remember that. Y equals, or f of x equals. Take care of vertical asymptotes and or holes in the graph. All right, so think back to your notes. Where do we get our vertical asymptotes from? It's coming from the denominator, right? Yes or no? Okay, so denominator is where our vertical asymptotes go. So if we're working backwards from our vertical asymptotes, they're going to go in the denominator. All right. So how many asymptotes, vertical asymptotes, do I have? How many? 2. What are they? -4 and +1? All right, so what do we have at the bottom? X plus 4 and x minus 1. All right, go through and see if there are any holes, and then read the rest of your steps and see if it makes sense. All right, are there any holes? No. Take care of any x-intercepts. Do we have x-intercepts? When we're graphing, and we're not going backwards, where do our x-intercepts come from? The numerator, right? We said equal to 0 and the bottom always cancels out, right? All right, so what are the x-intercepts? And are they crosses or bounces? Because that does make a difference. All right, so we only use a multiplicity of 1 or 2, not 3, 4, or 5. So it's just 1. So what would I put here for this x-intercept? And for this one, x minus 3. So far, so good? All right, if there is a horizontal, then take care of that. Is there a horizontal? All right, now horizontal happens either at 0 or at a number other than 0, or slant. We'll talk about the slants later. You can obviously see there's no slants here. Do you agree? Okay, think about when the horizontals happen at a number versus when it is 0. When is it 0? When it's top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? Bottom heavy. And when is it a number other than 0? Same. Do you guys agree? All right, so what do I have right now in this situation? A number at 0 or a number other than 0? So it should be top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same. And what is it so far? Is it the same? All right. How do we find, what is the horizontal on this one, by the way? Y equals 2. So what does that mean? If it's the same, how would I get y equals 2 for this? Take the leading coefficients. Right now, what are the leading coefficients? So what would I put right here? A 2. Now, if I were to look at this and ask, what's the limit as x approaches infinity? You would look to see if it's top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same, and what would you say? It is the same, which means you take the leading coefficients. 2 over 1 is 2. Questions so far? All right. Double check the y-intercept if there is one, and then slant will work out on its own. We don't have a slant here, but we do have a y-intercept. The y-intercept, it's just a double checker to make sure you've done everything correct. What is the y-intercept? Now, it should work out to be 1.5. If it doesn't, you've done something wrong somewhere. So how do I find the y-intercept? I plug what in for x? 0. So you're going to do 2 times 1 times negative 3 over 4 times negative 1. Go ahead and do that now. This is your y-intercept. And what does negative 6 over negative 4 reduce to? Positive 3/2, and is 3/2 equivalent to 1.5? Did it work? Yes, and that's it. You're done with the problem. Questions on that one? If you're still a little unsure, let's try the next one and see if any questions come up. First off, what is my horizontal on this one? Can you guys see that? Even though you can't see the dotted line, you can see that these two lines are approaching the y equals 0, yes or no? What does it mean if it's y equals 0? Top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? Bottom heavy. Okay, so we have that. All right, y equals, step 1, we did step 1. Step 2, vertical asymptotes. How many do I have? And I forgot to ask, and I should have, on this vertical asymptote, when you're looking right there, are those two lines going opposite direction or same? Which means it's odd, which means it's a power of 1. Okay, what about those two lines approaching this horizontal? Are those two arrows going opposite direction or same? So again, it's odd, so we're good. Yes? All right, what about here? Opposite direction or the same? Okay, so that's also an odd. It's also a power of 1. So what do I put in the denominator? X minus 3. So far, so good? Is there a hole? Because it said take care of holes as well. Is there a hole? We're at negative 2. What does that mean if there's a hole? We talked about that in notes on block day. That means you reduced a variable. What would we have reduced to make a hole at x equals negative 2? Good. X plus 2. Now, why do I write it at the top and the bottom? Because it would have been reduced to make that hole. Yes or no? All right. Where are we at now? X-intercepts. What are my x-intercepts? None? Are there no x-intercepts? All right. How does that make sense here that there's not going to be any x-intercepts? I'm just going to move this over. If there's an x plus 2 in my numerator. Okay, he said because after you find your domain, you reduce. And so it would reduce to 1 over x minus 3. When you set that equal to 0, would you end up with no x-intercepts? Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so then we continue. If there is a horizontal, then take care of that. Where we kind of talked about that already. Where's this horizontal? Which means it's top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? Bottom. I don't use any coefficients. I just look to see if it's bottom heavy. And is it bottom heavy? Yeah. All right. Double check your y-intercept, and then we're done. What is the y-intercept? It has an arrow here.
Negative 1/3.
All right. So how do we check that? We plug what in for x? Zeros. And does it work? What did we end up with? Negative 1/3. So that means this is good. This is our answer, and we move on. Questions on that one? All right. So far, questions in general about working backwards. What do you guys think? Kind of got the hang of it? No? All right. Let's keep going and see if questions, maybe you're not sure where to ask the questions yet. All right. Next one. Y equals, what do we take care of first, numerator or denominator? And denominator comes from the vertical asymptotes. How many do I have? This is going to be what? X plus 2, and this one's going to be x minus, this one's 1. Yeah? Now let's check the powers. I'm focusing right here on this horizontal, vertical line of 2. Are they going the same direction or opposite direction? Opposite. What about those two? Opposite. So they're both a power of 1, yes or no? Okay, there's no holes. The next thing we take care of is the numerator, which are my x-intercepts. Do I have any x-intercepts? Okay, where there's one over here. This -2 is for the asymptote. So what is this x-intercept? So what do I put? X plus 3. And over here? Okay, I heard one person whisper it. Squared. Why is it squared? Because it's a bounce. Do you guys see that? All right. What's the next thing we take a look at? If there is a horizontal, then take care of that. Is there a horizontal? No. If there's no horizontal, then that means there's a slant. Is there a slant? Yes. Now we only have slants when it's what? Top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? And is this top heavy? 2, 3, degree of 3, degree of 2, it is top heavy. Do we have to check our slant, or does that work out on its own? All right, so what's the only thing then we have left to check? The y-intercept. So plug in 0 now. And see if it works. Did it work? All right, what did it come out to be? -6, and that is the y-intercept. Questions? All right, next one. Y equals, again, I'm going to let you guys try this one on your own and see what you get. Remember, start at the bottom first. Denominator, then the numerator, then your horizontal asymptotes. When you are done, check with the person next to you. If there is no one next to you, then check with the people around you. All right, what'd you guys get? Anyone? Y equals, I heard Nick say something about a -2, yes? -2, and then x plus 3, x plus 1 over x minus 1 squared. Yes? Anybody else get this? All right, this is correct. I'm going to explain it. So if you didn't get this, you're making sure you're following with me now. All right, what did you guys do first? The denominator. This here is 1, so what do I put in the denominator? So you guys told me squared, yes or no? Oh, sorry. Where'd you guys get the squared from? right here, those two are going towards the same direction. Do you see that? If they're going the same, that means it's even. We're either using 1 or 2. Is there a hand up? No? All right. So everyone see why it's squared? Okay. And then we take care of the numerator. That's the x-intercepts. How many do I have? 2, and they're both crosses, correct? So there's no squared. X plus 3 and x what? Plus 1. And then if there's a horizontal, take care of that. Is there a horizontal? Is it at 0 or a number other than 0? And what does that mean if it's a number other than 0? It's top heavy, bottom heavy, or the same? Same. And is it the same? Degree is 2, degree is 2. All right, so what do we do when it's the same? We take the leading coefficient. According to this, what's the leading coefficient? -2. So is that where Nick got his -2 from here? Do you guys see that? If I were to ask you to take the limit of x approaches infinity, you would say it's the same. The leading coefficient is -2. All right, what's the last thing we check? Y-intercept. So we plug in 0, -2, 3, 1, 1. And does it come out to be the -6? All right. Questions? Doable? All right, let me just show you really quick what your assignment's going to look like tonight. You're going to have a front side, which is going backwards. There are 9 of them going backwards. And then the back side is all review. These down here is the stuff that we just learned. Everything above that is review. This review goes on a separate piece of paper. Got it?